The horrible optimization of Wuthering Waves seems to be getting a lot of attention lately. Some are complaining about it and some are blindly defending it. Now before we start, let's be honest with ourselves. Excuses like this game runs on different engines, so it's not a fair comparison, are just pure BS. If the devs wanted to optimize the game, they will find a way to do it. This is more of a video about how Wuthering Waves doesn't care about optimization more than a benchmark or a technical video. Let's start from the start, I guess. I'm a normal player using a laptop with a GTX 1650. I'm not able to upgrade due to the current prices in the market. Now, I know what you're thinking, but that GPU is below minimum requirement. And yes, that's true, but there is something you need to know about the requirement game developers use. They are not accurate at all. For example, in 1.0, when Wuthering Waves released, I was able to play the game at constant 60 FPS with higher settings, despite using a GTX 1650. Same thing with Arknight and Field, one of the best recent games in terms of optimization. The GTX 1650 is under the minimum requirement for the game, but it runs so smoothly. Now, my point here is that even though I'm using GTX 1650, you shouldn't just write off my argument about optimization. As you can see from the last Steam survey, the card is still one of the most used cards in gaming PCs, and even though I'm using card under the minimum requirement, I still can feel the gap in optimization between Wuthering Waves and other games. Now, for why the game is so unoptimized, it's simple. The game runs great in the 1.x maps, and even in Renisita, the change starts with Septimon, when the quality of the game drastically improved, but with little to no improvement optimization wise. And that trend continued to happen over the next region, with some attempts at fixing the optimization, but those were not drastic enough. For me to combat that, and because I really liked the game and wanted to continue playing it, I tested all the graphic settings until I reached the best settings for my PC, aka everything on low but special effects on medium because it doesn't affect FPS much while I'm moving in the world, and shadow quality because low just removes all shadows and makes the game look hideous. Now, for anisotropic filtering, it has nearly no effect on FPS. I just keep changing it for no reason. Just the thought of it being on max value scares me. But finding the perfect settings was not even close to enough. I need to change from DX12 to DX11 and also install a config that helped me not just improve the FPS but also remove the constant stuttering of the game. After all of this, I just noticed something. The Wuthering Waves graphic settings are designed to rob you of your choice. Not only is the draw distance for grass locked behind changing the preset and cannot be changed on its own, other settings are locked behind the preset as well, like the grass shadows. The problem with that is it robs you of your choice. You either have nothing or have it all. In my example, I wanted more draw distance for grass but no grass shadows. Guess what? I can't do that. Now, if you say they added the view distance settings, yes they did, but it affected only the rendering of small objects, so it's useless. And now for the biggest problem for older cards, and that also includes cards like the GTX 1060 and the GTX 1080, which by the way are higher than the minimum requirement. They don't have any upscaling technologies for those cards. Like, why? Yes, they do have FSR1 or maybe FSR2, I'm not sure, but that technology is not only too old, it looks bad and it doesn't improve FPS by much. FSR3 and 3.1 are available on the GTX series, so why can't they just add it? It's simple, they don't care about optimization, nor do they care about older cards, despite them having a very large share in the PC market. Again, let's take Enfield for example. The game released with an already great upscaling technology that looked good, and then not even a year in, they add the FSR3 and frame generation to older cards. And it's not like Kuro doesn't have the technology. FSR3 is available on AMD cards and it's the same technology. It's supported on the GTX card. They just refuse to add it for some reason. It will improve the player experience for virtually no work. But this is already a trend for Kuro games I've been seeing since launch. Locking 120 FPS for specific hardware, even though it probably can run the game at more than 60 FPS, at least 8. Why rob them of the option? You lose nothing by making it available. Now, I actually believe Kuro is probably working on fixing or at least improving the optimization, but their bad practices of locking settings out of some hardware will probably never change, and that's my biggest problem. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the optimization for Wuthering Waves. I like the game, I have 400 hours in the game, so if you're trying to flip this whole thing about, yeah, I hate the game and I'm just trying to tarnish its image, it's not. I want it to improve. I want to be able to play it more until I can afford to get a new PC. So yeah, that's that. Subscribe to the channel, I guess, so I can afford the new PC.